Thanks to Printify for sponsoring today's video. If you want to apply to Amazon merch, you're waiting on your application to get through, or you've just gotten that dreaded rejection email from Amazon merch, then this is the video for you. I'm Hannah, an Amazon merch and print-on-demand seller, and in this video I'm actually going to cover everything from why do people get rejected, how and if you should ever reapply to Amazon, and then most importantly, what you should do if you do get a rejection, what are some of the alternatives that you could try, some of the places that I see sellers make the same or more than Amazon, and where you should get started. So if any of that sounds interesting to you, make sure you keep watching. If you're still in the process of thinking about applying to Amazon merch and you do want to just get your application going, I actually have an entire video where I lay out my exact method for how I got accepted, and it's helped a lot of other people actually get their applications to Amazon accepted too. So you may want to watch that video either before this or after. But if you are in the position where you have received a rejection email from Amazon, or you just want to know what to do when you get that rejection, this is what I would do. So unfortunately, Amazon, they don't ever tell us the reason that you get rejected when you do receive that dreaded email. It would make things a lot simpler if they would just say, hey, you were rejected because you didn't meet these qualifications, or we didn't like this about your application, or we're just at capacity right now. But they really don't give us any information to go off of. So a lot of times we are just guessing about what the reason is that our application was not accepted. So what I find is typically Amazon kind of goes in waves of people getting accepted to the program and then a lot of people getting denied. So specifically around the end of the year, I find that almost nobody really gets accepted to the program. They are just at capacity. They are busy fulfilling orders. Amazon is doing a lot of stuff during that time of the year, so they tend to reject a lot of the applications. However, that doesn't mean that other parts of the year they just let anybody in. It still can be a really difficult process. You can fill out an application perfectly and they still will deny you. Unfortunately, sometimes it really is based on geography. I see that a lot more accounts that apply from the United States or some countries in Europe have a lot of an easier time getting accepted into the program, which unfortunately I think that's super unfair. I wish that just everyone would have the same shot getting into the program, but that is sometimes the case. Not to say that if you are from a country outside of that you will get automatically rejected. Just sometimes I find that the percentages of applications that get rejected is a lot higher from some other countries. One of the questions I get all the time is after someone's received a rejection email, they asked, should I reapply to Amazon, or how should I reapply? So this gets a little bit gray in terms of what you should do if you actually have received a rejection email. In Amazon's official policy, they state that if you apply to Amazon merch and you get rejected, that is one strike and you're out. You can never apply again as the same person. In my experience, I was accepted to Amazon on the first try. I was one of the lucky few that happens to. So I don't have a personal experience doing this, but many people do end up reapplying to Amazon merch. However, they do it in a way that they are using different information. So if you try to reapply to Amazon merch and you're using the exact same email, all of the same contact information, they have it already in their system. And what I've seen is that's almost an automatic rejection from Amazon. However, I have seen a lot of people have success with changing their email, maybe using a different browser or a VPN so that it's not tied to your computer that you've already applied here before, and then using some different information. What seems to work is that people change all their contact information, they use a new email and a new browser, but since your tax information is tied to you as a person, that's something that you can't just change. You can't just grab somebody else's tax information or social security number, but I've heard that people who use their same social security number but other information, they end up getting accepted eventually. So if you really do want to be part of Amazon merch, not everything is lost if you've been rejected. You can apply multiple times. I've heard of people applying upwards of 20 times and eventually getting accepted. However, there are some people that just never end up making it into the program. So I'm actually going to share with you some alternatives that you should definitely do that I think can actually be way more worthwhile of your time than trying to just pursue getting into Amazon merch and getting nowhere. There are two main alternatives that I think that if you are either waiting for your application for Amazon merch or you've recently been rejected, that you should go ahead and get started on are first, Etsy as a print-on-demand seller. So Etsy in itself is a handmade business. A lot of people are selling products that they actually physically make in their own home, but you can be a really successful print-on-demand seller on Etsy if you integrate with a place like Printify. So the way that Printify works is they are going to sync up with your Etsy account, and then when you receive an order on Etsy, all of the information is tied to your Printify account. So they are going to do everything from process the order, they are going to print it, they're going to pack it, ship it, handle all of that for you so that you can run your Etsy account very passively. You're just creating the listings and the designs similar to how you would on Amazon merch, and then Printify is going to fulfill all of those orders. Why I think this is such a great alternative to Amazon and one you should really definitely think about getting started on is because there is no application process. You could start your store, get everything synced up, and be ready to sell items in just a matter of hours. So you could start this today and be well on your way to having a great store by the end of today. I do have a complete walkthrough here of exactly how to get started. It takes you through step by step, so that's a great resource for you if after this video you do want to just go ahead and get started with being a print-on-demand seller on Etsy. And a lot of times this is such a better alternative than Amazon merch because even if you do finally get accepted after rounds and rounds of applying, you are still only limited to 10 designs when you first get started on Amazon merch. So the potential to make money is so small until you work your way up into those bigger tiers. Later down the road, when you are in higher tiers, you do end up making a lot more money on Amazon and it's run very passively. However, on Etsy, right out of the gate, you can become a really successful seller. You're only limited to how many designs you can upload is by how many you want to do. So if you want to sit there and work all day and upload hundreds of designs in a week, you could have a really full store and make tons of sales in just a few days. Another reason I think Etsy integrated with Printify is the best alternative to Amazon is that even though there's no application process, so you don't have that barrier to entry, just because each listing takes a little bit longer than it does posting something on Amazon merch, there is a little bit of a higher barrier of entry. A lot of the products on Amazon merch are uploaded by bots or just people uploading hundreds and hundreds of scalable designs because they can do that relatively quickly with the way that Amazon is set up. However, on Etsy, it does take a little bit more work to create each of your listings. So a lot of times you don't have as much competition and you have more chances to actually get your products seen. So on Amazon, I find that I only sell about 2 to 5% of all the listings and designs I ever create. So if I have several thousand listings, I'm just selling a small number of those regularly. However, on Etsy, I find that I sell a way bigger percentage of all of the items I ever post. Probably closer to 25% of everything I put on my shops actually ends up eventually selling at least once. So I think each product you create has a way bigger chance of actually making a sale. You have so much more potential to actually make money quickly. You're only limited by how much you want to do. So if you want to push really, really hard for a few months, you could actually get a really great store running super quickly with Printify. But on Amazon merch, even if you make a lot of sales in that first tier, Amazon is only tiering people up every month and sometimes not even that often. So you might be stuck with only 10 designs for a long time. And when you eventually tier up, you still have to go through that whole thing for tier 25 as well. I really love that Etsy integrated with Printify lets you take a little bit of the control, especially if you just feel so frustrated with waiting for your application on Amazon. The next alternative to Amazon that you definitely should consider if you do want to be a print-on-demand seller is actually Redbubble. So I'm sure so many of you are very familiar with Redbubble. It's kind of become more of a household name. So many people that don't know anything about print-on-demand, they know about shopping on Redbubble and what kinds of products that you can find. So Redbubble is probably my third choice for a print-on-demand platform. A lot of people don't love them as much anymore, but I find that just behind Etsy and Amazon, they are my biggest moneymaker every single month. I have several thousand listings up now and I'm making daily sales on there. But what I love with Redbubble is, again, there is no application process, so you can get your store started today and have things running, and you aren't limited to how many products you can have uploaded on like Amazon. You can upload at least 50 designs every single day with no capacity to how many you can actually have on your store. And Redbubble has a ton of organic traffic. This is a place that people are coming to look for stickers, they're looking for t-shirts, things that they know are super unique and one of a kind. This is a place that I know tons of people are looking for those kinds of items. So on Redbubble, what I love is that Unlike Etsy, where you are going to have to put a little bit more work in, on Etsy, even though you probably are going to end up making more profit and more sales, you will have to put in more effort. So if you're looking for, again, something really passive, more like the upload style of Amazon merch, Redbubble would be right up your alley because you are just uploading the designs and you don't have to deal with anything like customer service or making sure orders get put through. You just do your work as the artist of putting the designs up, and then Redbubble is taking care of everything else. So it really is 100% passive once you get those designs uploaded. But that being said, unlike Amazon that has a hard application process, and Etsy who has a higher barrier of entry when it comes to actually creating your listings, there are so many people on Redbubble. So there is so much competition within each niche that you are selling in. You still can have success. Like I said, I do make daily sales on Redbubble and it is a big chunk of money every single month, but I make nowhere near those other sites. But this one is one that you definitely want to get started on. Really, if you wanted the best of both worlds and you're waiting to get accepted to Amazon or you've been rejected, I would go ahead and integrate my Etsy account with Printify, get that whole thing set up, but also at the same time start a Redbubble store where you can just start making designs really easily and uploading them, letting them go and seeing what happens. I think you'll be surprised at the number of sales you actually end up making. Like I mentioned before, I have a complete walkthrough of how to set up your Etsy shop as a print-on-demand seller and integrate it with a manufacturer like Printify, but I don't yet have a tutorial on how to get started on Redbubble. It's relatively simple, but if that is something you guys would like to see, make sure you let me know down in the comments below and I will get working on that for you guys. But in the meantime, check out this tutorial to start your Etsy store, and I know you guys will have a lot of success on that, even if you're getting nowhere on your Amazon merch applications. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in my next video.